My Ring of Honor / New Japan Pro Wrestling presents War of the Worlds Internet Pay-Per-View review. The Internet Pay-Per-View was streamed on Ustream, and just like last week, there was no problems with the stream, so it looks like Ring of Honors finally got their act together with doing the Internet Pay-Per-View, and obviously this is where they need to continue doing their Internet Pay-Per-Views is through Ustream. Obviously next month, they'll be going back to traditional pay-per-view, but I still expect, since they're not going to be doing traditional pay-per-views and they're not going to be doing those monthly, I expect to, not every single show, but some of the big shows that might not be traditional pay-per-views, but still big enough shows where it'd be worth, streaming the shows. I expect, some of them to be done through Ustream, so hopefully Ring of Honor continues doing these through Ustream, and they continue to work perfect and have no problems at all, which there was not one problem at all. Just like last week, ran smooth. There was not one problem during the whole entire show. During intermission, you did have to refresh your browser, but that was it. That you didn't miss anything during intermission. That's the only time you could say that you might have had to, refresh your browser, and it looked like, it was buffering a little bit. But that was during intermission when nothing was even going on. As far as the show, this was a damn good show for Ring of Honor. Just like last week, they delivered another good show. Now, out of the two shows, this was the better of the two Ring of Honor interpromotional shows they have done with New Japan Pro Wrestling so far. This is the one of the two they've done that I would say more people would probably, want to see this over last week's show. Even though last week's show was a damn good show, this is the show that, gave people what they wanted to see, which was when you do a interpromotional show between Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, people want to see, Ring of Honor wrestlers versus New Japan wrestlers, and that's what you got on here. As far as the match of the night on here, easily the match of the night was the Young Bucks defending the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles against reDRagon. That was an awesome tag team encounter. If you're a fan of tag team wrestling, that's the match you need to see. They easily stole the show. We got the main event that people wanted to see going in the show, because obviously it was looking like, going in this show that it was just going to be AJ Styles defending the IWGP title against Michael Elgin in a singles match. And obviously we've seen that 2 times before, and people were like, okay, even though it's been a good match, when you are doing an interpromotional show with New Japan Pro Wrestling, we don't want to see a match we've seen already before and have that main event. So people wanted to see, obviously, Okada in the match, which that's what we got. Okada was added to the match. So it was a triple threat for the IWGP title in the main event with Elgin, Styles, and Okada, which was a damn good match. It wasn't the classic match that's going to be remembered for years to come, but it was still a damn good main event, and the ending minutes of the match were great. That's when it really picked up and turned into being something great. It probably should have been given a little more time. That's probably one of the other things that kind of hurt it as well. But within the main event, they did a really good job of not only making AJ obviously retain the IWGP title like everyone knew was going to happen, but they did a good job of protecting Okada as well with the way they ended the match. And then on here we got a dream match with Kevin Steen versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which was another damn good match. I mean, those 3 matches right there are the 3 matches everyone needs to see, and those obviously were the 3 matches that made this show. The Cole and Liger match for the ROH title, it wasn't a great match, but it was an entertaining, fun match, which is what they intended a Liger match to be on this show. So you got what you were supposed to get in that match. And Bennett and Tanahashi, considering, New Japan Pro Wrestling didn't want Tanahashi to be in a match where he could possibly hurt himself, and he's rumored to have a back injury where, they didn't want to have him take on someone where, he would potentially get hurt. So they had him take on Mike Bennett, which I thought was the best booking decision. I know a lot of people going into the show hated the idea of them booking Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Michael Bennett, but it made all perfect sense. New Japan Pro Wrestling wanted to have, their face of the company, Hiroshi Tanahashi, pretty much protect it where they would not have to worry about him getting hurt. And the style that Michael Bennett works, you would never have to worry about Tanahashi getting hurt. And it's not like Michael Bennett is a rookie either, so he's got time in the ring. He's been wrestling for a long time as well, so you didn't have to worry about him hurting Tanahashi. And at the same time, New Japan Pro Wrestling doesn't really like the idea of face versus face matches, so they wanted, a clear-cut heel versus a face, and that's what you got in the match. It wasn't a great match, but it was a good match, and I thought, Michael Bennett did a good job within the match. I think, a lot of people were, saying it was going to be a terrible match, which it wasn't a terrible match. It was a very good match, I thought. And the undercard of this, some of the undercard wasn't great, but I would say once you got to the Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Steen match, that's when the show really picked up, and the second half of the show was great. So let me get into my review of the show. You had one pre-show match on here. So on the pre-show, it was supposed to be Caprice Coleman versus Silas Young. Silas Young comes out there. He's not in his wrestling gear, and Silas Young cuts promo saying that, he's better than this. He does not need to be relegated to the pre-show for a Ring of Honor show. He deserves better than this. So then he walks out. So Caprice Coleman's still in there. And then the Decade comes out. So you get Adam Page versus Caprice Coleman. That's the free match you got on the pre-show. For a match that was just on the pre-show that was not intended to be anything great. It was at least watchable. It was watchable at best, 1 3/4 stars, nothing too special. But it was just a pre-show match. And obviously the crowd wasn't into it at all. As far as the Silas Young, walking out and doing that stuff, that led to something later on, which I did enjoy what they did later on in the show with Silas Young. Then the pay-per-view kicks off with AJ Styles and the Bullet Club coming out there. This was great. Obviously, the Bullet Club heavily over in New York City. Just great seeing them all in the ring. And then Okada comes out there. Then Elgin comes out there. Elgin comes out there saying that he wants to take on Okada. He wants tonight's main event. Instead of being just Elgin versus Styles for the IWGP Heavyweight title in the main event, he wants it to be a triple threat. He tries to get Nigel to do that. Nigel then they do a thing where Nigel goes to the New Japan people outside, convinces them of it, and then it's obviously official that we get, the triple threat as the main event with AJ Styles defending against Okada and Elgin, which obviously is that's the thing people wanted to see going into the show. So that was a really good opening segment right there, and obviously they had to do that segment, and great segment with the Bullet Club right there. Then the opening match of the pay-per-view portion was the Forever Hooligans teaming up with Watanabe versus ACH. Matt Taven and Tommaso Ciampa in a 6-man tag. This was a solid 6-man tag opener. You saw some good stuff in here. It did what it was supposed to do, kind of get the crowd into the show. The Forever Hooligans did their thing. ACH did his crazy, high spots in here. Ciampa did as well. And the match ends with Matt Taven hitting the climax DDT on Watanabe to pick up the side for his win. For his side, and about 2.5 star match. It was a solid opener, nothing great, but at least a solid opener that got the crowd into it, got the crowd into the show. Then the next matchup was Roderick Strong and BJ Whitmer of the Decade teaming up to take on Jado and Gedo. This match wasn't anything too good. This was probably the weakest match on the show, other than obviously the pre-show match. This match I couldn't really get into. I kind of like the idea of seeing Roderick Strong against Jado and Gedo. That part was at least good. But BJ Whitmer, I'm actually someone that doesn't hate BJ Whitmer like a lot of Ring of Honor fans. A lot of people hate BJ Whitmer. I actually don't hate BJ Whitmer, but BJ Whitmer, when you have him as a tag team performer, he only works good as a tag team performer when he's teaming up with Jimmy Jacobs. Him and Roderick Strong just did not do good as a tag team here. Roderick Strong tried to do some good stuff in here, but it just couldn't. The match wasn't clicking. Jado and Gedo tried to do their best, like Roderick Strong, but it wasn't a good tag match. Roderick Strong picks up the win by pinning Gedo, 2 stars, nothing too special. Won the match, definitely a skippable match. Then the next matchup was Kushida versus Jay Lethal for the TV title. This match had a very good beginning, back and forth action to start it off, with them basically out-topping each other, basically, knowing each other's moves before they're coming. That's the type of stuff they did at the beginning. And then, then towards the middle of the match, Jay Lethal, he was, basically going after the crowd. he wasn't doing stuff the crowd wanted to do, so then he took it to the mat, so then it kind of got slow and methodical. Then it picked up towards the end where it really got good in the last couple minutes. That's really the best part of this match, but it was a fun TV title match. Jay Lethal retains the title after hitting the lethal injection. About 3 1/4 star match. Good TV title defense, and decent match. Then the next matchup was the Briscoes versus the Bullet Club of Doc Gallows and Karl Anderson for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. This match I was expecting just a little bit more from. It wasn't a terrible match. It was what you probably would have expected with, the Bullet Club versus the Briscoes. The one thing I did like about it, it did have that old school tag team feel of an old school tag team match. So I love that part of the match. Just the whole match, it had its moments, but it wasn't great. The crowd wasn't too hot for it, other than within certain parts of it. And the Bullet Club retained the IWGP tag titles in here. It was it's a good match, but I was just expecting just a little bit more from it. About 3 stars, maybe 3 1/4 stars. It wasn't bad, but I was just expecting a bit more from it. Then the next matchup was the first damn good match of the show. This was the last match before they went to intermission. This was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Steen in a dream match. These two had an incredible match. Good back and forth action. Loved everything they did. Kevin Steen, obviously is the most over guy in Ring of Honor. Probably one of the most over guys on the indie scene right now. And he did some great stuff. They love Nakamura. I mean, this was just a damn good match. Was it, a match of the year candidate or an excellent match? I wouldn't go that far, but I would still say it was a very good match, and definitely a match you need to go out your way to see. Nakamura picks up the win after hitting the running knee to Kevin Steen. About 3 3/4 star match. Really good match. Enjoyed it a lot. Then after the match, I actually like the stuff he did post match a lot. Kevin Steen gets on the mic, saying he's lost his last 2 matches. He's going on, looking like he's going on a losing streak and stuff like that. And he's like talking about, cutting a promo where it's like sounding like he wants to end his time in Ring of Honor. And then right when he's, doing all that, he gets interrupted by Silas Young. Silas Young comes out there basically saying, looking like he's putting over Kevin Steen by saying, you're like, just like me, Silas Young, you're one of the very only, real men on the roster, so he puts over him, and then he goes after him saying, why are you thanking the crowd and everything. So then they kind of have a little scuffle, so it's looking like we're going to be seeing a Kevin Steen versus Silas Young feud, which this could be a feud that could be what will make Silas Young in Ring of Honor. I mean, I've liked Silas Young for a long time. I've been wanting Ring of Honor to finally use him properly and make him into possibly, a top-level star in Ring of Honor. And they have the potential with this feud with Kevin Steen to possibly make him into being a star. So hopefully they do that, and this leads to, good things for Silas Young. And then after this, like I said, was intermission. Intermission wasn't that long. Then the match coming back after intermission was Michael Bennett versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. This was obviously the most controversial match of the evening. Going into this show, this was the match no one wanted to see because people thought, they should have been given a better match with Tanahashi. But like I explained earlier, I explained all the reasons why, this match was the best possible way you could book Tanahashi for this interpromotional show. New Japan Pro Wrestling views these, interpromotional shows as B-level shows, so they don't want to risk their big money draw, Tanahashi, getting hurt. And at the same time, like I said, they don't like having face versus face matches. So within here, you had, the clear-cut heel and Michael Bennett versus, the clear-cut babyface and Tanahashi. Maria Kanellis, she did some great stuff working within this match. I loved what she did within this match as far as the distractions and the stuff she did with Bennett. That was some really good stuff. This was just a fun, it was a fun match. Was it a great match? I wouldn't say it was a great match, but it was a fun little match they had with each other. I think, Michael Elgin, not Michael Elgin, but Michael Bennett, he went out there trying to prove something to the crowd that, he could put on a good match with Tanahashi. And I would say at the same time, obviously, the New Japan Pro Wrestling had their eyes on this match, and hopefully, maybe he proved himself to New Japan that maybe they want to book him for some of their shows in the future, because he does seem like someone they would possibly want to use. You saw some really good stuff within this match. Good back and forth action. Tanahashi did great stuff within here. The stuff with Maria, like I said, that I liked. Obviously, they did stuff with her getting involved. She didn't play a role in the end of the match. They did a spot within here with Maria distracting the ref by making out with the ref, and behind the ref's back, Michael Bennett hitting the band pile driver onto Tanahashi, making it look like, Bennett was going to pull up the upset by beating Tanahashi here, which was another thing I liked about this match. They did a good job of making you somewhat believe that Michael Bennett could have possibly, had the upset win here by beating Tanahashi. We knew it wasn't going to happen, but they did a good job of making you at least believe that, with Maria's distractions and stuff like that, and, his heelish type stuff that he would do, that maybe he would somehow find a way to cheat and, have the upset win against Tanahashi. Tanahashi ends up winning the match after hitting the frog splash off the top to Michael Bennett. A fun little match. Wasn't great, but it was a fun little match. It was what it probably was intended to be. About 3 1/4 stars. Wasn't great, but I thought it was a good match, and obviously it was the best way they possibly could have booked Tanahashi, considering New Japan didn't want to risk having him getting hurt. Then the next matchup was easily the match of the night. This was something everyone needs to see. This is reDRagon of Fish and O'Reilly teaming up to take on the Young Bucks and Nick and Matt Jackson for the ROH Tag Team titles. This was just an incredible tag team match. Just loved everything they did from the beginning. Just great stuff towards the end of the match. This is tag team wrestling. If you are a fan of tag team wrestling, this is a match, like I said already within this video, this is a match you need to see and go out your way to see. They stole the show. reDRagon win this match. They defeat the Young Bucks for the ROH Tag Team titles, which make perfect sense. Because with their obligations with New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Young Bucks can't make every single show. So the reason why the Young Bucks had the titles was, back in March. That was around the time before, a little after they did this, Ring of Honor and New Japan agreement for shows in May. So they wanted to have the Young Bucks with the tag titles going into the show. Then obviously the reDRagons regained the titles at War of the Worlds, which they did on here. Just an incredible tag team match. 4 1/4 stars. Match everyone needs to go out their way to see. Then the next matchup was Jushin Thunder Liger versus the ROH World Heavyweight Champion, Adam Cole. This was what it was intended to be. It wasn't, with the Liger match, especially how old Liger is, you're not going to get a great match, but it was what it was intended to be. It was just a fun, entertaining match. Adam Cole retains the title after Liger taps out of the figure 4 leg lock within this match. It was what it was supposed to be, a fun match. 3 stars. Wasn't ever supposed to intend to be a great wrestling match. With a Liger match, just as long as you have the spectacle of Liger and you have a fun match, you deliver what you are supposed to with a Liger match, especially now with how old he's gotten. Then the main event was Michael Elgin versus Kazuchika Okada versus AJ Styles in a triple threat for the IWGP title. This had some great stuff in it. The little beginnings of the match kind of seemed like they were having a little trouble all clicking with each other, because it took a little while for all 3 to be in the ring where they started clicking with each other and it was starting to pick up. But once it picked up, this turned into being something very good to great. If it would have got a little more time, I think we would have got a better match. But the way the match ended, I love the way the match ended. It was obviously the way they intended it to end, which was have AJ Styles retain the title, IWGP Heavyweight title, and protect Okada at the same time. The way they do that is Okada, he hits the Rainmaker on Elgin. Elgin looks down, is looking like Okada is going to be able to pick the win. Then AJ Styles does a springboard forearm to Okada. Okada's out of the ring. Then AJ Styles hits the Styles Clash on Elgin. So Elgin takes the loss in this match. AJ Styles pins him to retain the IWGP Heavyweight title. And I would say, a 3.5, maybe 3 and 3/4 star match. A really good main event. Obviously, the one thing that probably took away a little from it was two things. I think it should have been given a little more time. And obviously, everyone knew the ending was going to be very predictable with Elgin taking the pin and AJ Styles retaining the title. So since it was so predictable how it was going to end, that kind of took away a little from it, because you knew within the match there was no way Elgin was going to, win the IWGP title. Been cool to maybe see happen, but, just with AJ Styles winning the IWGP title just 2 weeks ago, you knew they weren't going to hotshot the title. But it was a damn good main event. And the ending sequences, like the last 5 minutes of the match, was great. Like I said, at the beginning, they took a little while to kind of click. Once they did that, it turned into be something good. Like I said, it should have been given a little more time, but it was still a good main event and overall a good show from Ring of Honor and I like to see this relationship with New Japan continue. And the longer this relationship goes, the better the shows are going to get, and possibly maybe sometime in the future we'll get the dream card that we want to see. But you still saw some good stuff on it. You saw a great tag team match with the Young Bucks and reDRagon. Really good main event. And Nakamura and Kevin Steen was great. The undercard wasn't spectacular, but it was okay to good. So I would definitely recommend this show. I'll probably give it, maybe about 8 out of 10, 8.25 out of 10. And that's it for my Ring of Honor / New Japan Pro Wrestling presents War of the Worlds pay-per-view or internet pay-per-view review. All right, peace.